The first time I heard that sound, I thought someone was holding their breath somewhere beneath the ocean, weeping in silence. The night sea off Goseong, in South Gyeongsang Province, swallowed every sound in an almost unnatural way. The waves were crashing against the breakwater right below us. Yet the sound seemed to come from somewhere impossibly far away. Muffled, like the whole world had been wrapped in a heavy blanket. It was as if someone had draped a massive shroud over the entire ocean. That night, I never managed to close the window. I told myself I should. But strangely, the moment I reached for it, I felt like closing it would set something in motion. I was 29 years old then. It had only been 10 days since our wedding. My wife, Ji-yeon, or as she'd been called back in the States, Jenny, was 27. We had originally planned to go to Jeju Island for our honeymoon. But right before the wedding, her father collapsed suddenly, and everything fell apart in an instant. Jenny couldn't bring herself to board a plane while her father was lying in a hospital bed. She felt guilty the whole time. So we scrambled to find somewhere close. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere not too far from Seoul. That's how we ended up in Goseong. It was supposed to be simple. Just a few days of rest. Back then, I actually liked quiet places like that. I preferred a deserted shoreline to a loud tourist trap. After the wedding chaos, all I wanted was to sit in front of the ocean and not say a word to anyone. Jenny had booked the accommodation. It was a guest house along a coastal road far past the edge of Goseong. A renovated old farmhouse by the look of it. White walls, light wood decking, a small harbor right out front. The reviews were all pretty much the same. So peaceful. The sound of the waves at night is wonderful. The owner is very kind. Looking back now, I noticed something strange. None of those reviews said much about what the nights were actually like. We arrived around 5 in the afternoon. The sky was overcast, and the ocean was a dull, murky gray. The further our GPS took us down that narrow coastal road, the worse the cell signal got, cutting in and out like it couldn't decide whether to stay with us. Past the last convenience store, we didn't see another car. Jenny was asleep in the passenger seat. She'd barely rested in months getting ready for the wedding. I turned the radio down without thinking about it. The road was eerily quiet. Streetlights were few and far between. That's when I saw the first strange thing. Standing on top of a breakwater beside the road. A woman. I figured she was probably a local. She was wearing dark clothes, facing the ocean. But the closer I got, the more something felt off. She wasn't moving. Not at all. Even though the wind was strong. Not a strand of her hair was stirring. When the car passed almost beside her, I glanced in the rearview mirror out of habit. Nobody there. The exact spot where she'd been standing. Empty. There was nowhere she could have gone. No time. No place to hide. My heart sank. Jenny woke up right at that moment. Are we there yet? Quote. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to set a strange mood. The guest house looked older than the photos. A rusted wind chime hung by the gate, rattling without any breeze. A woman in her late 50s greeted us. Weathered skin. Few words. You came from Seoul? Quote. Yes. Staying 3 nights. She looked back and forth between our faces. Then bit her lip slowly. I still remember that expression clearly. Not welcoming. Not dismissive. Like someone deciding whether to say something they'd been holding back. Keep the door locked at night. Jenny laughed and asked, why? Is there a lot of crime out here? Quote. The woman didn't smile. Sea wind. It's strong. She handed over the key and said nothing more. Inside, the guest house was cleaner than I expected. Old wood smell. Low ceiling. The living room window looked straight out at the ocean. The sound of the waves was very close. The first few hours were genuinely peaceful. We cooked instant ramen, cracked open some beers, Laughed about the funny moments from the wedding. Jenny looked relaxed for the first time in a while. Like she'd let herself forget about the hospital. Just for a moment. Then around 11 at night, things started to shift. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Not just the ocean. Something older. Wet rot. Like a fish storage warehouse that had been sealed up and left for years. It crept in slowly through the gaps in the window frame. Jenny wrinkled her nose. What's that smell? Quote. I looked out the window. Near the small harbor, a single faint light was flickering. And next to it, someone standing. A dark silhouette, completely still. It reminded me of the woman on the breakwater. My body went rigid. Jenny followed my gaze toward the window. What is that person doing? Quote. No idea. Probably just a local. But what unsettled me was the feeling that whoever it was looking at us. Even from that distance. Even without being able to see a face. I could feel the stare. I pulled the curtain shut. We decided to turn in early. We were exhausted. And the next day we'd planned to take a ferry out to one of the nearby islands. I was checking the locks and about to turn off the lights when something outside scraped across the ground. SHHHK. 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 Something being dragged across sand. Slow and steady. Jenny turned to me. Did you hear that? Quote. I held my breath and listened. The sound moved around the outside of the guest house. Slowly circling. Then it stopped. Right in front of our bedroom window. And then I heard it. Breathing. Close. Wet breathing. Right outside the glass. HHHHH. HHHHH. Jenny grabbed my arm hard. It's probably a cat, I said. Forcing a smile. But I knew. That wasn't a cat. That was a person. We sat in silence for a long time. Outside was dead quiet. So quiet my ears started ringing. Then, tap. Someone touched the window. Just once. Very lightly. Jenny was almost sobbing. Don't open it. I got up slowly. I was terrified. But something told me that not checking would be worse. I reached for the edge of the curtain and pulled it just slightly to the side. My heart stopped. A face was pressed against the outside of the glass. A woman. Wet hair hanging limp. Eyes wide open. Unnaturally wide. Mouth curved slowly upward. No sound. Just a smile. I couldn't scream. I just completely froze. I'd heard that extreme shock shuts the body down. That night I understood what that meant. She was close enough that her breath was fogging the glass. Her face was soaked. Her skin, visible through the strands of wet hair, was pale and bloated. The skin of someone who'd been submerged in water for a long time. The most horrifying part was her eyes. They barely moved. When a living person looks at you, there's always some small trembling in their gaze. Not her. She was utterly still, not alive, like something mounted in a glass display case. Jenny's trembling breath hit my back. Babe, what is that? Quote. I yanked the curtain shut. My hands were shaking. I'd only seen that face for a few seconds. But it was burned into my mind. The wet, hanging hair. The pale, swollen skin. The slow curve of that smile. Outside, nothing. Even the breathing had stopped. As if there had never been anyone there at all. Probably just a local, I said. Forcing the words out, not believing them myself. What kind of local presses their face against a stranger's window at 1 in the morning? Jenny's expression said she knew it too. Should we call the police? Quote. I checked my phone. Barely any signal. Wi-Fi was out too. Was it just bad reception out here? Or, tap, tap. This time it came from the living room window. Slow and rhythmic. Like a fingernail barely touching the glass. I grabbed a putter from the corner of the room. A small one I'd stowed in my luggage. Not exactly a weapon, but better than bare hands. I walked slowly toward the living room. The floor creaked with every step. The air was strangely cold. I'd had the heat running, but the room felt like a walk-in freezer. A silhouette behind the curtain, right at the window, completely still. I held my breath, then threw the curtain open. Nobody, but on the glass, wet handprints, a wet palm print, with fingers that were abnormally long. Then I heard footsteps outside. Wet, heavy, like someone dragging soaking wet slippers across the deck. Moving toward the back of the building. I rechecked the window lock. My palms were drenched in cold sweat. And then, right at that moment, laughter. From somewhere near the back window. Kick, kick, kick. It sounded human, but it had no emotion in it. Like someone imitating a laugh. Jenny called from the bedroom in a shaking voice. Babe, get in here now. I went back in and locked the door. I slumped to the floor beside the bed. Jenny's face had lost all color. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Outside had gone quiet again. Too quiet. Even the sound of the waves had vanished. Which was wrong. We were at the ocean. There should always have been waves. Jenny gripped my hand. Let's just go. Right now. At this hour? Quote, I'm scared. Part of me wanted to run. But getting to the car meant going outside. And the coastal road. Narrow. Barely any guardrails. Cliffs on one side. Darkness everywhere. In this state, we'd crash. Let's wait until morning, I said. Trying to sound calm. Then, drip, drip, drip. From the ceiling. We looked up at the same time. The center of the bedroom ceiling was wet. I reached up and caught a drop on my palm. Ice cold. And there was a smell. Salt. Fish. Seawater. Why is seawater dripping from the ceiling? Quote, and then the ceiling moved. A dragging sound. Something. Or someone. Walking on the roof above our heads. Slow. Heavy. Dragging something behind them. Grrrk. We both stopped breathing. A person on the roof. That shouldn't have been possible. This place was one story. I checked my phone again. Still no signal. Battery. 18%. Then the ceiling lurched. A dull thud directly above us. The ceiling shook. Jenny screamed. I looked up. The wet stain on the ceiling was spreading. Like seawater being poured on from above. And then, slowly, through the gap in the plaster. Hair. Black. Wet hair. Strand by strand. Dropping down toward us. Jenny started crying. And through the gaps of that wet hair. An eye. Someone looking down at us from inside the ceiling. Those almost unmoving eyes. The woman from the window. I completely lost it. I swung the putter at the ceiling over and over. Plaster chunks shattered. Dust rained down. And from directly above us. Laughter. High. Rolling. Right over our heads. I grabbed Jenny's hand and ran for the door. Then, click. Someone was turning the front door handle. Slowly. Deliberately. But from the inside. The handle was turning outward. Not like someone forcing their way in. Like something already inside was trying to get out. I shoved Jenny behind me and stared at the door. The handle stopped. Total silence. The laughter from the ceiling. Gone. Then I looked toward the living room window. Fog. Where there had been none minutes ago. Gray fog rolling in from the ocean. Swallowing the deck. The ground. Everything. And in the fog. Shapes. Not one. Two. Three. Many more. People standing around the guest house. All of them motionless. All of them soaking wet. Clothes. Hair. As if they had just walked out of the ocean. Jenny covered her mouth. What are those? Quote, from under the front door. Water crept in. First a little. Then more. Dark and tinged with something sickly. The smell hit us instantly. An old fish market drain. Rotting sea life. I touched it. Not sticky. Cold ocean water. But the smell was overpowering. From outside. Footsteps. Wet. Multiple people. Circling the guest house. Slow. perfectly in sync. I lifted the curtain just a crack. 5 people, men and women both, all staring at the guesthouse with that same fixed gaze. Faces blurry except for their eyes, which were impossibly clear. And among them, the woman, the one who'd pressed her face to the window. This time she wasn't smiling. Her lips were moving, slow and silent. I couldn't hear it at first then. A few seconds later, the words came. Let us in. Every inch of my skin prickled. Then the others joined in. Let us in. We're cold. Let us in. Jenny grabbed my arm. Call someone, please. I ran to the kitchen wall. An old landline. I snatched the receiver. Dead. No dial tone. Nothing. But then, breathing through the dead line. HHHH. I froze. Then a woman's voice, barely above a whisper. Why did you come here? Quote. I hurled the phone at the wall. The lights went out. Total darkness. Jenny screamed. Outside fog so thick the moonlight couldn't get through. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. And then, from inside the house, wet footsteps, splashing across the floor. I was sure the floor had been dry moments ago. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The floor was soaked. A trail of wet footprints from the front door. Bare feet, but elongated, wrong proportioned, leading through the living room and into our bedroom. At the end of the flashlight beam, in the corner of the room, something moving, wet hair, swaying, a figure crouching in the corner. I pointed the light directly at it. The woman, pale, bloated face below that wet hair. Much closer this time. The smell hit me. Fish and wet earth. She slowly raised her head. Her neck made a sound. Crack. She opened her mouth. This isn't your place. The flashlight went out. I jammed the button over and over. The light flickered back. The corner was empty, but the floor was still flooded. Jenny was barely holding herself together. We're leaving. Right now. She was right. Staying was going to get us killed. I grabbed the car keys. Run. We bolted for the front door. I grabbed the handle. Ice cold. I yanked it open. The fog people were right there. Much closer than before. Standing at the base of the deck. And now I could see their faces. Skin puffed with water. Eyes milky and blank. Seawater dripping from the corners of their mouths. Like waterlogged bodies that had learned to walk. One of the men opened his mouth slowly. Where are you going? Quote. His voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. Then from behind us, a horn, low and long, from somewhere in the ocean. Too close. We turned. Through the fog, a boat appeared. An old wooden fishing vessel. No lights. Drifting toward the dock with no engine sound at all. Like a shadow sliding across the water. And on the deck, packed close together, people, dozens of them, all staring at us. Still, not swaying with the boat's movement. That boat was not carrying living passengers. I looked at Jenny. Run. We sprinted toward the car. The people behind us moved. Splash, splash, splash. Slow at first, then faster. I hammered the key fob button. The car unlocked. Just as I reached it, a hand closed around my shoulder. Ice cold. I screamed and spun around. The woman, her face right in front of mine. Wet hair. Those empty eyes. She opened her mouth. Don't go. Seawater poured from her lips. I shoved her. She felt almost weightless, like pushing a soaked rag. We threw ourselves into the car and locked the doors. Fists pounded the windows, wet palms smearing the glass. A man pressed his face up to the driver's side, eyelids swollen, eyes rolled back. Jenny screamed. I started the engine. It caught on the first try. I floored it. The car lurched forward through the fog people. Bodies thudded against the sides. In the rearview mirror, dark shapes writhed. Then, bang! Something slammed into the back of the car. The whole vehicle shook. Jenny spun around. What hit us? Quote, don't stop to find out. The coastal road was invisible in the fog. The headlights barely cut through 10 feet ahead. We'd been driving for over 10 minutes when I realized the scenery hadn't changed. The same rusted breakwater. The same collapsed bus shelter. The same power line with a fishing net tangled around it. Over and over. We were going in circles. Hey, Jenny, isn't that the same spot from before? Quote, Jenny didn't answer at first. She was crying, staring out the window. Then she said quietly, babe, why is she? Quote, I looked up. A woman in white, standing in the middle of the road. Head bowed. We were already too close. I yanked the wheel. Tires screaming across wet asphalt. The car skidded and hit the guardrail. Crash. My head snapped against the window. My ears went silent. For a few seconds there was nothing. When I came to, smoke was rising from the hood. Jenny was sobbing in the seat beside me. You're bleeding. My forehead was split open. My hand came back red. But what was worse was what was standing in front of the car. The woman in white, right there in the headlights. And her face looked like Jenny's. Not identical, but the eyes, the jawline, the curve of her mouth, eerily similar. Jenny saw it too. Her body went rigid. The woman slowly raised her head and smiled. In that instant, a memory I'd buried hit me like lightning. Our wedding day, Jenny's mother had pulled me aside and said, don't go to the southern coast. I dismissed it as superstition. Her mother was the type who counted auspicious days and kept talismans in the house. But her expression had been unusually serious. She repeated it before we left. Don't take Jeon near the southern sea. When I asked why, she wouldn't say. It's just not allowed. Now, watching that woman smile, the woman in front of the car slowly opened her mouth. Sis. Jenny went white. What? Quote, the woman stepped forward, right up to the windshield, and whispered, why did you take so long? Quote, the foghorn moaned again from the direction of the ocean. Closer now. Much closer. I checked the rearview mirror. The wooden boat, cutting through the fog, almost parallel to the road. Impossible. It was too close to shore. And someone on the deck was waving slowly at us. Then, click. The engine cut out. The lights died. The whole road went dark. From every direction around the car. Scratching. Dozens of wet nails dragging across glass. Windshield. Side windows. Rear window. All at once. Like something trying to peel us out. Jenny pressed her hands over her ears. Do you hear it? Quote, I did. I tried the ignition again. Nothing. Again. Nothing. On the hood. Dark water. Running down the glass. And through it, a face descending. Someone on the roof of the car. A woman, pressing her forehead to the windshield. Her eyes tracking mine exactly. She opened her mouth, throat black inside, and smiled, slowly. I looked away. Looking felt dangerous. But Jenny couldn't look away. She was completely locked onto that face. Jenny. No response. Jenny. She flinched. But her face was wrong. Not terrified. Vacant. Like something had reached in and taken part of her mind. She said softly. She said, sis. My blood went cold. What? Quote, just now. She said it. I grabbed Jenny's shoulders. Stay with me. That's not what matters right now. But her eyes stayed on the window. Her voice had gone small and distant. Did my mom ever talk about the ocean when I was little? Quote, I didn't know what to say. Jenny had never talked much about her family. Especially not about Goseong. Then behind us. A scream. I looked in the rearview mirror without thinking. The soaking figures from the guest house. Way more of them now. Stretching back into the fog without end. All of them staring the same direction. Not at the car. At Jenny. They had always been looking for her. A heavy thud from the roof of the car. Something moving on four limbs up there. The ceiling pressed down slowly. A pale, bloated hand came down over the windshield. Fingers impossibly long, crawling down the glass. Then the face. Up close. The woman's neck bent at a wrong angle. But she was smiling. This was always my seat. The radio came on. Static. I hadn't touched it. The power button was off. Through the crackle, a man's voice. 1998 incident off the coast of Goseong. A fishing vessel capsized during a severe storm. All passengers missing. Among the victims, local resident Kim So-na, age 8 at the time. Jenny stopped breathing. So-na. I turned slowly. Jenny's lips were trembling. That's my sister's name. The radio crackled again. The body was never recovered. And then, through the static, a girl's laughter. Rolling. Bubbling. The radio went dead. I stared at Jenny. She was already somewhere else. Her mother. Goseong. The sea. The woman who looked like her. The girl on the boat. All of it was snapping into place. Tap. Tap. Someone knocked on the driver's window. I turned slowly. The guesthouse owner. Standing outside in the rain. Completely soaked. No raincoat. I almost cried with relief. I started to roll down the window. Then stopped. Her face was wrong. Wet. Like the others. Eyes glazed and blank. Jenny grabbed my arm. Don't open it. The woman's face slowly shifted. Her lips curved upward. Her voice cracked. You don't trust me? Quote. I took my hand off the window button. Her expression hardened. Too late, she said softly. The moment she said it, hands began rising from under the car. Wet hands. Dozens of them. Up through the wheel wells. Under the bumper. Through every gap below the chassis. Gripping the frame. The car began to sink. The suspension groaned. The tires were sinking into the waterlogged ground. From deep in the fog, the wooden boat had changed course. Directly toward us. I stomped the accelerator. Wheels spun. The engine screamed and poured smoke. Then the radio came back on. Not a broadcast this time. Just voices. Dozens of them. Overlapping. Give her back. Give her back. From outside too. A chorus of whispers in the fog. Give her back. The guesthouse owner raised her head slowly. Her face had changed completely. Skin sagging from the water. Black seawater draining from the corners of her mouth. She has to come back, she said. Jenny whispered. Sister. The woman nodded slowly. Your mother ran. She took you with her. But you both were supposed to stay. Jenny screamed. On the back window, a woman's face. Clear and close. Jenny's own face. Ruined. Eyes sunken. Cracked lips leaking seawater. But still smiling. Her mouth moved silently. Come with me. Jenny collapsed. No. 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 I forced the car into drive and floored it again. Tires spun and screamed. Didn't move. The hands under the car were pulling us down. Engine smoke thickened. The car was going to catch fire. Then all the women outside looked up at once and turned. Toward the ocean. The foghorn again. The wooden boat was right there. Almost touching the road's edge. On the boat, a little girl at the bow. Soaking wet dress. And Jenny's face. A child's version of Jenny's face. Jenny froze. Sister. The girl raised her hand slowly. Why did you leave without me? Quote. Her voice was so young. That's what made it worst. Jenny sobbed. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Then Jenny's face crumpled like the memory had finally broken through. Mom used to cry every time anyone mentioned the ocean. I couldn't speak. Jenny murmured, almost to herself. I had the same dream my whole childhood. Someone pulling me down from under the water. The girl outside smiled. You remember. Click. The car's door locks disengaged all at once. I grabbed the handle. Too late. The back door swung open slowly. Ice-cold seawater rushed in. And from that water, a hand. Small, pale, a child's hand. It closed around Jenny's ankle. Jenny screamed. I grabbed the wrist and tore it free. It didn't feel like a hand. It felt like waterlogged fabric. Soft, pulpy. The moment I pulled it off, laughter erupted from every corner of the car. Hideous, rolling laughter. Right next to our ears. No one visible. On the inside of every window. Handprints began appearing. From inside the car. From nowhere. And from the back seat. Breathing. Huff. Huff. I looked in the rearview mirror. Someone was sitting there. Wet hair fell away to reveal the face. The woman from the window. Her voice. Right behind us. Ji-yeon-ah. Jenny was completely gone. Panic. No. No, 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 no. I'm not going. The woman tilted her head slowly. Her neck cracked. Crack. But it was always mine. Then from outside the car, a voice screamed, "Close your eyes." The guesthouse owner. But her voice was different this time. For the first time, she sounded like a real person. Desperate. Urgent. A blinding light flooded the car. A white flashlight. The woman in the back seat shrieked. The car shook with the sound. I squeezed my eyes shut. Outside, the crashing of waves and the sound of voices wailing all at once. Then someone hammered on the car door. Bang, bang, run, right now, go. I opened my eyes. The owner was pulling the door open. In her hand, a flashlight wrapped in red cloth. The beam was faintly crimson. When it swept the fog, the shapes recoiled. She screamed, "Don't answer if they call your name. Don't look at the sea." Quote, I grabbed Jenny's hand and we threw ourselves out of the car. Cold water splashed underfoot. The fog shapes were already moving. Coming after us. We ran. Behind us. Sounds. Dozens of wet feet hitting flooded ground. Splash. 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 I didn't look back. Looking back felt like the end. Then the owner's voice again. "Don't answer no matter what." Quote, and then, from right behind me, my own voice. "Hey." Quote, I nearly stopped. It was perfectly accurate. My tone. My inflection. The exact way my friends back home called for me. Ice filled my spine. Then, from behind Jenny, "Babe, look at me." But Jenny was right beside me. Still running. I gritted my teeth and ran. Somewhere in the fog, laughter erupted, bubbling, boiling, like water finding its way through everything. We ran through a narrow alley between old coastal houses. Windows all shut tight. No dogs. No TVs. No sound of anyone breathing inside. The whole village felt like it had died. Jenny was crying and running at the same time. I gripped her hand so hard I was afraid I'd break it. The owner stopped suddenly. We stopped too. In front of us, a small village shrine, the kind you find all along the Korean coast. A simple spirit house. Red cloth strips hanging in the windless air. A rusted bell above the entrance. The owner threw the door open. "Get inside." Quote, we nearly fell through the doorway. Slam. Something hit the door from outside the moment it closed. The whole frame shuddered. Jenny screamed. Then voices outside. "Open it. I'm cold. Come with us." Inside the shrine. Damp incense. Old paper talismans covering every wall. A single candle trembling. The owner leaned against the door. Gasping. For the first time, she looked us directly in the eye. "Why did you come here?" Quote, her voice was sharp with anger. I managed to say, we're on a trip. We're on our honeymoon." Quote, "You shouldn't have brought her here." Her gaze shifted to Jenny. Jenny's face was completely white. "Was my sister real?" Jenny whispered. The owner was silent for a moment. Outside, scratching began against the wooden door. Fingernails on old wood. SHHHK. SHHHK. The owner finally said. Yes. Jenny's breath caught. She was your twin. The air in the room fell heavy. I looked at Jenny slowly. She looked like she'd never heard this before either. The owner continued slowly. 20 years ago, during the storm, your mother boarded a boat with 2 children. From outside, someone giggled. Kick, kick. The owner kept speaking. The boat capsized. Your sister went into the water. Your mother pulled only you out. Jenny's tears came. And the body? I started. The owner's face went still. Never found. From outside, a child's voice. Liar. Jenny's body flinched. The owner quickly pulled red powder from somewhere and packed it into the crack below the door. The water stopped. Her hands were trembling. After that day, voices started coming from the ocean. Every night, from outside, overlapping whispers. Mama, I'm cold. Come get me. My chest tightened. The owner closed her eyes. The one who died. She didn't want to go alone. Jenny sobbed. Your mother never came back to this coast, too afraid. The moment I heard that, everything clicked. Why Jenny's mother hated this place so much. Why her face went rigid every time anyone mentioned the sea. Why she had begged us not to come. It was all because of this. Crash. Something massive hit the door from outside. The frame buckled. Dust rained from the ceiling. The owner's face went hard. No time. She reached under the altar and pulled out an old photograph. Black and white. A young woman and 2 small girls. Twins. And they really did look exactly alike. Jenny saw the photo and crumpled to the floor. That's me. The owner pointed to one girl. That's you. On the left. Then to the other. And that's Son-ah. In the photo, Son-ah was smiling. But something was wrong. The bottom half of the photo was warped and stained. As if it had been sitting in seawater for years. Then, while we watched, the girl in the photo moved. Just barely. Just the corners of her mouth. Curving up. Slow and deliberate. Jenny saw it too and screamed. And at the same moment, thud. Something on the roof of the shrine. Dragging itself across the tiles. GRRK. GRRK. The owner's face drained of color. She found it. From right outside the door. A child's voice. Close and clear. Ji-yeon. Jenny's body turned to stone. Come with me. The door handle began to turn. Click. Click. And then, from beneath the door, wet black hair began to creep through the gap. Sliding into the room one strand at a time. This is where the story ends. If this sent a chill down your spine, please subscribe and hit the like button. It means everything to us. More terrifying stories are coming. See you next time. Thank you.